Welcome back to my YouTube channel. So we are already started with industrial relations and labor laws series for our upcoming UPSC EPFO examination. So we are aware that notification is soon going to be released, and as a part of our syllabus we are looking into industrial relations. So this is lecture 1.2. In last lecture, that is in lecture 1.1, we have talked about what we mean by industrial relations, and we have seen the definition of industrial relation, the various aspects of industrial relations. So we know that industrial relation refers to the dynamic relationship between employers, employees, trade unions, and government in an industrial setup. So in any industry, we have the management, then we have the employees who are working there for the management, and they have the existing relations between them, and the government is the third actor, or state is the third actor. So it is tripartite in nature. So this we have already discussed in lecture 1.1. So if you haven't watched first lecture, please go and watch first lecture, so you'll get an idea about industrial relations. In this video, we will be talking about the relation between industrial relations and Constitution of India. So what does Constitution tells us regarding industrial relations? That is what we are going to discuss in this video. So let us begin. So what we know so far is that Constitution provides us the basic guidelines for industrial relations. So we are aware that Constitution is the law of land. It guides us while making any legislation. So in same case for industrial relations as well, it provides us the basic guidelines while making any legislation. So in Constitution we have fundamental rights and DPSP, Directive Principles of State Policy. So these two act as the basis for our labor policy. So while formulating any policy, rules, regulations, we have to take care of these fundamental rights, that these are not violated, and at the same time we have to see the DPSP, which is provided in part 4 of our Constitution. Now, talking about fundamental rights, so various articles have ensured that labor class is protected in India or in industry. So the rights of labor is ensured through. So there are various articles, and what they tells us is given in Constitution. So Article 14 talks about right to equality. So it tells us that everyone or all workers are treated equally in an industry. So equality before the law, that is what it talks about. Then prohibition of discrimination, Article 15. So this tells us that no one should be discriminated against in any industrial setup. Then we have Article 19 as well, rights to freedom of speech and association. So the workers are free to form the unions or associations which are directly relevant for trade unions. So they are have the right to speak, and they are associations as well. Then we have right to life and personal liberty, Article 21. So this is regarding the right to life of the workers or employees who are working in an industry. Then prohibition of traffic in human beings and forced labor, Article 23. So this is a PYQ. We have a question based on this in our previous examination. So Article 23 talks about the abolition of forced labor and prohibition of traffic in human beings. Then finally, Article 24 tells us about the prohibition of employment of children in factories. So children are no longer employed in factories or in hazardous environment. So that should be prohibited, that Article 24 tells about. Now moving on, that was all about fundamental rights. Now we have directive principles of state policy. So again, these also acts as guideline for whom? For state, for our government. So in creating such industrial relation system in country. So while formulating the guidelines, we should ensure that it provides us equity, justice, and welfare for workers. So now from this, many questions have been asked in our examination. We will be discussing these questions at the end of this video. So let us see what this DPSP tells us about regarding IR. So Article 38, it talks about to secure a social order for promotion of welfare of people. So we have to secure a social order so that welfare of people is promoted. Then Article 39 talks about the policies which should secure adequate means of livelihood for all citizens through various means. That includes equal pay for equal work, protection of health and strength of workers, protection of childhood and youth from exploitation. So this Article 39 is very important. Then Article 39A talks about the legal system to promote justice on the basis of equal opportunity and provide free legal aid through suitable legislation. So if any labor class wants to go to the court for fighting any injustice, so they should be provided equal opportunity and free legal aid through suitable legislation. That is what Article 39A talks about. Now moving to Article 41, it talks about securing right to work. So this is very important, right to work, to education, to public assistance in cases of unemployment, old age, sickness, disablement, and undeserved want. So everyone has a right to work, to education, and to public assistance in case of all these conditions. Article 42 tells us about to secure just and humane conditions of work and maternity relief. So from here we have question already in our examination that it should consider the just and human conditions of work and maternity relief. Then 43 talks about to secure work, living wage, decent standard of life to the people. So this is again very important. And finally 43A talks about the participation of workers in management of industry. So in any industry, workers should be able to participate in the decision making. So that is what talks about 43A. Moving on, we know that labor basically is in concurrent list. Labor is in concurrent list. So both center as well as states can formulate laws in case of labor. So for union list, these are the various entries, and for concurrent list, these are the various entries. So what you have to do, we have to just remember the entry number and what it tells about. Like for concurrent list, both center as well as states can formulate the law. So 22 talks about trade unions, industrial and labor disputes. Then 23 talks about social security, insurance, employment and unemployment. So like this, just try to remember the entry number in the feature it tells us about. Moving on, so as I already tell you, so under Constitution of India, labor is in concurrent list. So it may be asked in statement based question. So it is in concurrent list. So it empowers both central and state governments to enact legislations. So we are aware that industrial relations revolve around three actors. We have employers, workers and their trade unions, and state. So this three-pronged or tripartite structure tries to balance the power equation between management and workers. So as a result, we finally conclude that industrial relations in India is tripartite in nature. So just remember this. Now moving on, let us see some previous year questions. So first question here is provision of workers participation in management of industries is provided under. So straightforward question. So Article 43A, answer is B here. So Article 43A of Constitution states that the state shall take steps by suitable legislation or in any other way to secure participation of workers in management of undertakings, establishments or other organizations engaged in any industry. So this Article 43A was inserted in Constitution by 42nd Amendment Act 1976, and as a result of this, state is conferred with power to bring any suitable legislation to promote workers' participation in management. So this is a very important question. Moving on, next question here is which one of the following articles to Constitution of India states that state shall make provisions for securing just and humane conditions of work and for maternity relief. So just now we have seen in DPSP Article 42 talks us about maternity relief, just and humane conditions of work for maternity relief. So part 4 we know deals with DPSP, and Article 42 tells us that state will make provision for securing just and humane conditions of work and for maternity relief. So like this we can see straightforward questions are being asked from this chapter. Under which one of the following articles of Constitution of India states shall endeavour to secure by suitable legislations or in any other way the conditions of work ensuring a decent standard of life to all workers. So again we have seen in DPSP Article 43 talks about this. So Article 43 states that states shall endeavour to secure by suitable legislation or in any other way to all workers, whether they are agricultural worker, industrial or otherwise, a living wage, conditions of work, ensuring a decent standard of life and full enjoyment of leisure and social and cultural opportunities. So this is what it talks about, Article 43. Moving on to the last question. Forced labor or beggar is a violation of which one of the following articles of Constitution of India? So we know in fundamental rights we have seen this of Article 23. This talks about forced labor. So Article 23 of Indian Constitution deals with prohibition of traffic in human beings and forced labor. So this 23 is similar, means this is one of the fundamental rights which is given to an Indian citizen through the constitution. So if anyone is engaged in forced labor or beggar, it is violative of article 23 of our constitution. So we can see that very easy PYQs have been asked here from this chapter. So just try to see which fundamental rights deal with labor class and which DPSP deal with labor class, and you are good to go from this topic. So moving on, in next class we will talk about the history of industrial relations in India. Thank you for watching my video. Stay tuned for next lecture. Thank you once again.